NorCal Notes of the Week. First story back. The historic fire lookout cabin destroyed by a park fire in Lassen National Forest. Why am I just struggling with this? Go
Lassen
ahead.
National Forest. So it's the McCarthy Point Lookout Cabin. Now, a lot of people might not know about this, but this is one of the most popular. This was one of the most popular cabins that you can rent in Northern California. It was big in the Lassen National Forest in the Ishi Wilderness right there. And why it is particularly interesting to me is it was in our magazine just a couple months ago. We did a big highlight on how you can stay there, how you can rent it. So, this is why. Well, we have long form content, but also we can update you on our website, activenorcal.com, because it's crazy. So the park fire, if you've been living in a cave, the park fire was started in Bidwell Park in Chico, quickly spread all the way north, to it basically hit Lassen Volcanic National Park. It burned through the Ishi Wilderness. It burned through a ton of homes and everything, and it includes this beautiful 90-year-old lookout cabin. Now the foundation, the concrete foundation, is still there, so my guess is they'll try to rebuild. Maybe. But it's going to be a couple of years.
Yeah, originally built in 1936. So what came to me when I read this is that, this is no longer an observation. This is what you can rent it out, right?
So, which is most of them now, because they have all sorts of technology to look at fires.
But my mind went to, would this have burned down had they still been using it? Because if they were still using it, they would make sure that it is basically fire retardant, right? That there is enough debris away from it to where it wouldn't be at risk. Do you agree with that opinion? If it was a still active lookout observation tower, it wouldn't have burned because they would have put resources behind it.
Yes, it would have, and I'll tell you why. There's not enough resources. They put their resources towards communities, towards homes, towards making sure people are safe. And so the Ishi Wilderness is this vast wilderness in Lassen National Forest, and both the U.S. Forest Service and Cal Fire has basically said, if there aren't communities in the way, we're going to let this stuff burn. Because everyone knows we've had tough forest management over the past 20 to 50 years here in California. So now they're when these fires break out, they're letting these large sections burn because it creates healthier forest.
Totally agree with that. But my point was basically, if this property was managed by the Forest Service or CAL FIRE or whatever, the property itself would probably be more able to sustain a fire like that. Like they chose this location as a lookout because it could see very far, right? But they definitely would have had to have planned about there being fire in and around it, so they would have prepared for that. But because this was in private hands and it was...
Well, no, it's not in private hands. The U.S. Forest Service rents it out.
But they probably weren't maintaining it like they were. Basically, like a base.
You could put like a wrap around it. They have those wraps that they do.
And just even clearing vegetation around it for 30, 50 yards or what have you. I'm sure that they weren't paying as much attention to doing it because it was just more of a luxury item.
Yeah, it's just priorities. I mean, the fire burned over 700 structures, most of which were homes. So that's their priority. And
totally.
and yeah, this is probably going to cost the taxpayers money to bring it back, but it does pay for itself in terms of people renting it out and staying there.
Well,
so
how long does it take to pay back what it's going to cost to rebuild? It's a pretty big building. I'm sure it's going to be.
It's actually not that big. What's the square footage? I don't have the square footage here.
3,600.
3,600.
That's an elevation.
Yeah, that's elevated. Yeah, it's not that big. It's real. They build these fire towers for one or two people to live in. So these aren't that. That one's actually bigger than most of them that you'll find. But nonetheless, I don't know what they'll do.
We're going to see more historic buildings burn. It's just, this is Northern California. This stuff happens. Yes, it's sad, but this is Mother Nature.
There's been multiple fire lookouts that have burned in the Lassen area just within the last 2 or 3 years. So.